Celebrity hip-hop superstar A$AP Rocky is facing decades in prison for gun charges connected to the alleged shooting of his friend, A$AP Relly. The battle inside the courtroom has been intense, while Rocky's girlfriend, fellow A-lister Rihanna, and their children have been watching in court. Tonight, the latest as this celebrity trial in Los Angeles draws to a conclusion. But first, 41-year-old Christina Parcell was found brutally murdered on the morning of October 13th, 2021. This shocking scene in the peaceful suburban community of Greer, South Carolina, absolutely stunned everyone. Then, when more details were revealed, the case became even more stunning. Investigators found a seemingly staged crime scene, including the spreading of rose petals around Christina's dead body and inside the home. The community wondered, was this some sort of a sick serial killer on the loose? Then, investigators made an arrest. Actually, 2 arrests. Christina's boyfriend, Bradley Post, and the father of Christina's young daughter, music producer John Mello. 2 arrests, but neither was charged with murder. The boyfriend, Bradley Post, was arrested for child porn charges, and Mello, the father of her daughter, with custodial interference. Then deputies from the Greenville County Sheriff's Office arrested Zachary David Hughes on November 3rd, 2021. They charged him with the murder of Christina Parcell. Hughes was a classically trained and well-accomplished pianist who had won a scholarship to Juilliard. Prosecutors say his connection to the victim was that he was friends with Mello and involved in the ongoing custody battle. But there's more to this story involving that child pornography and prostitution that the jury is not hearing. Tonight, we take a closer look. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we talk about the Rose Petal murder trial. And let's begin with the victim, Christina Parcell. And this is a victim, unlike many that we've seen in some of the cases and stories that we've covered, because there's a backstory and some controversy surrounding her. And information that could very well be connected to the reason why she was murdered, because to me it's not 100% clear yet in all of this. Now, Christina is the victim, so she obviously is no longer with us, but her estate and her fiance, Bradley Post, are being sued in a case involving child porn allegations. Not just against Bradley Post, but also against the estate of Christina Parcell, meaning they believe she was somehow involved in all of this as well. This is unusual, extremely unusual. So if you've got a victim who might be connected to child pornography, her fiance has been criminally charged with it, so clearly investigators and prosecutors believe he is connected to it. What does that mean? Is that the reason someone would take Christina's life? Now, the important part of this is that child pornography allegedly involves, in this lawsuit, Christina's daughter and others, but Christina's daughter. Now, Christina, there's also been allegations that she may be involved in prostitution. What was going on in her world, in her life? And what was going on in the world, in the life of her daughter? If mom, the victim, is involved in prostitution, child pornography, engaged to a man who's also involved in that. You know, once you enter that sort of a world, you have to take a moment to wonder if it's connected to what happened to her, which was a brutal, brutal murder. Now, the problem here is what the jury doesn't know is like any of this. They don't know this part of the story. They have little slivers of this information. But this information is not being put in front of them. So let me back up for a second. Let me introduce you again to all the players in this case, in this story. Zachary Hughes is the defendant. He's the accused killer, okay? A pianist accused of killing Christina Parcell, okay? You've got the defendant and you've got the victim. Also, you've got Zachary Hughes, who is friends with a man named John Mello. He's also friendly with John Mello's daughter. Okay? Now, who's John Mello? Well, he's in a custody battle with Christina Parcell. So they're battling over custody of the child. Zachary Hughes is friendly with John Mello and the daughter. And then you've got Bradley Post, who is the fiancé of Christina Parcell. He is the one criminally charged with child pornography, but also being civilly sued along with the estate of Christina. Okay, did you follow all of that? Now it gets a little more complicated because that child who's in that custody battle, obviously there's issues going on, had a guardian who's appointed to represent her and her rights as all these things are happening. And take a listen to what that attorney who was the guardian says John Mello was doing to her. Take a listen.
Over the course of your role as guardian ad litem, approximately how many emails did you exchange with Mr. Mello?
I don't even know if I could count them. I know when we printed them for the family court trial, I think it was 3 or 4 reams of paper. He was continuing to communicate, harass, threaten, intimidate, bully. His communications were unlike anything I've ever encountered as a guardian, and so they continued to escalate. He said awful things that we were trafficking children, Ukrainian children through Spartanburg. That's like on the internet. It was Facebook and Reddit, and at one point he had said I was manufacturing child pornography in my law office and put my address and my phone number right there. So he was definitely fired up.
Okay. This is really, really troublesome, right? So you've got this woman who's just a guardian, who is just a guardian ad litem, who is being accused of being engaged in trafficking and child pornography. No, she isn't. No. But it seems what that really tells us is that John Mello in this custody battle seems a bit unhinged. And not only is accusing, you know, the mother of his child of all these things, but the guardian ad litem, like, that's out of left field. So if he's making allegations against her, are all these allegations just that, just allegations that are not founded in any truth? Let's go back now to that civil lawsuit that I was telling you about, and here are the details. The minor child was in custody and care of Christina Parcell at the time of the defendant's death. Upon information and belief during the course of the law enforcement investigation of Christina Parcell's murder, law enforcement discovered numerous photographs and videos of various minor children, including minor Jane Doe, that would be the daughter, in various stages of undress and in sexually explicit and nude positions, which had been taken over the course of several years, just like in the Stephen Stearns Jen Soto case. Petitioner is informed and believes that the photographs and videos were taken by, with, and in the presence of the defendant, Post, and the defendant, Parcell. That Christina was there when her daughter's being photographed. Plaintiff is informed and believes that the defendants knowingly and intentionally forwarded sexually exploitive photographs and videos of Jane Doe to third parties to be viewed and further disseminated. right? You're taking these pictures and you're sending them to other people, likely selling them to other people. That's the allegations. Don't forget, Bradley Post has actually been charged in this. 7 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, 1 count of criminal sexual misconduct with a minor, 1 count of buggery. I mean, those are serious, serious, serious charges. Jury's not hearing any of it, but what is going on here in the lives of all these people? Joining me, journalist and founding member of Blunt Force Media. He's been in the courtroom for this trial. Troy Stiles is with us, and author and certified mental health counselor who specializes in child abuse, neglect, and trauma, Sharonda Brown. Okay. Troy, this is like a lot of information involving this child pornography, trying to understand it. The jury's not hearing it, but I believe if any of this is true, it seems like it's somehow connected to what happened to Christina here.
Vinny, I don't understand why this is considered irrelevant to the case. It's very relevant to the case. And you mentioned buggery. So, I mean, consider the venue here. This case has taken place in South Carolina. So, you know, I guess that's why they're not letting all of this in, because they're worried that they won't get a conviction on Zachary Hughes if a South Carolina jury hears all this evidence. But this is very relevant. And I mean, this is the most horrific crime I think I've ever seen happen in the state of South Carolina. It's a very safe town, the upstate of South Carolina, and more than that, the canebrake community is very safe. All the jury really knows is that Brad Post found his ex-fiancee, Christina, and that he has 9 charges. The jury must be so confused in this case. It's like putting a piñata and just spinning them around. They don't know what's going on.
Sharonda Brown, let's first start with the child in the middle of all of this, because it seems like that is what's causing everything here. Not that she's causing it, but what has happened to her is causing all. So you've got a custody battle going on the one hand, but on the other hand, it seems there's potentially her being involved in taking these photos, and this stuff's being disseminated, and allegations that her own mother is a part of it. Let's talk first about that child, if any of this is true.
Yes, it's so unfortunate because when I hear cases like this, it is very clear that there's definitely some sexual abuse or some trauma going on. There's definitely some sexualization going on. And usually with children who the adults, you know, who look up to the adults in the world who's involved in that, they usually go along for their own survival and their own safety. And so it becomes their norm. And I also know that when adults are involved in this, it was their norm as children as well, which is why they don't see a lot wrong with this. And it becomes a cycle. So I can imagine this child being confused, really just being torn between both her parents, trying to find safety through it all and trying to make sense of it all, but mostly fawning through it for her own survival so that she can continue to please both her parents one way or the other.
Okay, there's a little bit more I want to talk about, and these are images and allegations again against the victim in the case, Christina Parcell. Let's take a listen.
I received the envelope. I opened it because it was very suspicious, you know, with my return address. And I looked at it, and then I called my attorney.
Why did you call your attorney?
Because of the contents inside.
Can you explain, can you describe the contents?
Yes, there were naked pictures of Miss Parcell. And if I remember right, there was a mailing list of which would kind of indicate that they were going to be sent also to those locations.
You've asked a lot of questions about the websites in the mail on drugs examination. Is it true that when that website was actually up, you didn't see that website? Is that right?
That's correct.
And so it's very possible that when that was up, that website is it true that it's possible that website had photographs of Christina Parcell in the nude on? Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
And isn't it true that that website was a vehicle for advertising prostitution? Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so an envelope with naked pictures of Christina Parcell sent to her fiance, and then allegations that she was potentially on this prostitution site. I'm trying to get some context here, Troy, because it seems like this custody battle has a lot to do with it. John Mello, though, is also accusing the guardian ad litem of being a trafficker. And to me, that strikes me as being sort of unhinged and, oh my goodness, everybody's in on this. And I can't imagine that's possible. But I don't know what's going on with Christina and Bradley Post. So what are your thoughts about, is Christina a prostitute? Is she being set up and framed to be a prostitute? What do you think is going on here?
Well, John Mello is certainly considered unhinged, and not just by Carmelo, but by everybody that has received any kind of communication from John Mello. It tracks all the way. So the other thing that I was going to say about this is that John Mello, you know, it seems like it's being painted before the jury that John Mello may have actually created some of these prostitution ads himself, because some of the photos don't have the website and then some of them do. So, and these mailings were sent not only to law firms and neighbors of Christina Parcell, but they were sent to many people. And there is a consistency there. We've noticed there's a misspelling in some of them, and it's the last name Post. And that's consistent in some of the communications between John Mello and Zachary Hughes, and it's consistent to the mailings. And it's misspelled as P-O-A-S-T when you spell Post, P-O-S-T. So it seems like it could be certainly John Mello that sent these mailings, and we know that he asked Zachary Hughes to harass her. So are they together on this or not?
Yeah, Sharonda Brown, and trying to get to the truth, because like Post is actually charged with this child pornography. Like if that criminal case didn't exist, I would be like, okay, someone is just trying to dirty them up in a custody battle. But there's actual criminal charges, which tells me there's a much larger likelihood that there's actual evidence of him being involved in that. This is muddied up, Sharonda. What do you think's going on here in the minds of John Mello, who's in this custody battle, who seems unhinged, and the reality of what sort of world this girl was living in?
You're probably not going to like this, but it sounds like they were actually running a business of some kind, and this child was a big marketing piece. And because everybody seems like they're partly in on it, and there seems like there was some jealousy there. There may have been some deals gone wrong. And when I'm listening to the stories of how unhinged the dad was, it makes it sound like there was power control, and he wanted to make sure that whatever profit was made, he could be in control of that. And so when you start talking about sending things to, you know, really upset someone's character or make them look bad, those are tactics you use when you believe you're losing at something, or when you believe that you're about to get the short end of the stick of something. It doesn't sound like there was a lot of care and concern for the child, as much as she was maybe a pawn in this game that all these parties seem to be involved in.
It's a sad tale. It's a sad tale for that little girl, I'll tell you that. Troy Stiles, Sharonda Brown, great to have you on this Friday night. We really do appreciate it, and we'll see you again really soon when we come back. So the jury's not seeing any of this, right? They're not hearing any of this. So why not? We're going to bring in our think tank and talk about that. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, a Valentine's Day special. How did their love go wrong? We take a look at 4 couples whose relationships came to fatal conclusions. Lori and Charles Ballo, Chris and Shannon Watts, Corey and Eric Richins, and Ali and Anna Abulaban.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Whoa, what just happened?
Nobody could believe that he would be a killer.
It was the biggest story in the world.
Trial and Error. Why did OJ win? Premieres Sunday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on Court TV.
says, secret phone number got I dude private Christina's.
All right. And so how did you interpret that in relation to this investigation?
I interpret that as, dude, I've got Christina's private number. It says, harass of her 5142, we can the 864 out 483.
So how did you interpret that in relation to this case?
I believe he's providing Christina's phone number, which I know ends in 5142. He's saying harass out of her.
All right, this is crucial evidence against Zachary Hughes, kind of, getting into the nexus of why and how, not so much, some explanation for why he gets involved in all this and why he's going after and kills Christina Parcell. Because he's friends with John Mello, and John Mello is telling him or asking him to do all these things to her. And then he ultimately murders her. But is it just because they're in a custody battle, or is there more to it? Like, does Zachary Hughes believe that this little girl that he met on the street one day when he was playing piano and met with John Mello in the streets of Greenville, did she believe this child was being trafficked or abused by her mother, being sexually exploited? Is there more to it? Because if there is, the jury's not going to know about it. Because it's all been excluded, all the child porn, all the prostitution, everything, it's out. It is not part of the case. And I feel like the jury here is only getting half the story, regardless of who it helps or hurts. I think it could help prosecutors, really. It could help the defense, too, because it makes the victim look so bad. But it could explain why this defendant would do this. I need help. Oh, yeah, I need help. Let's bring in the think tank. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Marie Pereira is with us. Also, the chief public defender for Oakland County, Michigan. She represented the Oxford High School shooter, Paulette Lofton. And trial attorney, big case Michael J. Furr is with us. All right, Marie, this is my pet peeve I have with our system of justice. We don't give the jury enough information. We exclude things all the time. And in this case, I think we are excluding, like, the reason this victim is dead. Whether you agree, whether the reason makes her look good or bad, to me doesn't matter. Like, the jury's got to figure out the truth. Let them know some of the facts here.
I agree with you 100%. There was another case recently where the jury did not know all the facts, AKA the boy who killed his daddy and then ended up killing his mother. They knew he killed somebody, but not his father. I think they need to let these jurors know all the facts so that they can make decisions based on pure knowledge of all the facts, so that they can apply CSE, common sense evidence. And leaving that out is going to be misleading to them. They need to know what the roles of all the players are. Why would the piano player kill the woman? Maybe because he didn't like her, because the father of the little girl made the piano player believe that she was some demon who was colluding with Post to take naked pictures of the baby, and he felt like he was doing something good for the community by getting rid of her. I think the jury should know that.
Absolutely. Now, Paulette, I understand why prosecutors don't want this in, because it potentially could make Christina look very unsympathetic, make her look like a potential predator, a horrific mother, could make her look like a prostitute, a child pornographer, a child abuser, all of that. But it also provides the motive. Like, I think prosecutors should always embrace the facts and the truth, whatever they are.
I agree. I think as the prosecutor and also a defense attorney, you really have to paint a picture about what is going on to the jury. As a defense attorney and as a prosecutor, you know exactly what is in that evidence. You know every single thing, but the jury doesn't. So if the jury is left with a ton of questions, I have seen in my experience that they hold it against the prosecutor, because the prosecutor is there to establish the facts, establish the elements of whatever charge this person is facing. And if they don't do that and they are left with more questions than they have answers, I think that's going to hurt them. In this case, you can tell the defense attorneys are asking very few questions because they don't want to supply any evidence that isn't already going to be given by the prosecutor. And it seems like the jury is just kept in the dark and they're not going to be able to piece together, like you said, why a concert pianist is somehow charged with this homicide. The dad lives in a different country. The mom is here. in a new relationship. It is so confusing, even to follow it in the role that I have now, just trying to watch the opening statements and the testimony, and to even imagine what the jury is thinking at this point. They must be going home like, okay, maybe tomorrow it'll make sense. Maybe tomorrow I will get more evidence, but it doesn't seem like they're going to.
Yeah, Michael, I could see myself making a very compelling argument to the jury as a prosecutor with all this evidence in that they don't want in. That this man was, you know, made to believe, or maybe it's actually true, that this girl was a victim. But we don't support vigilantism. And yeah, she was bad, but you know, there's a time and a place to bring these allegations, and it's in family court, and it's to go file a criminal thing. We don't go and take people out, right? And if that's the truth, it's the truth. I mean, otherwise, I don't know what this jury thinks. Like, why would this concert pianist who has this relationship with John Mello, why is he doing this? It almost makes him look like a complete psychopath.
Exactly, especially when the jury hears about the way the murder happened. The whole thing was completely macabre, right? He's a Juilliard-trained pianist, and he's alleged to have murdered her and left rose petals around her. But I have my own conspiracy theory. My conspiracy theory is this: everything that happens outside that courtroom and before the case osmoses its way into the jury. Sequester be damned, right? My conspiracy theory is they probably know, and I'll tell you why. It is so confusing and mysterious, if I was sitting on that jury, to know why did this guy with this blonde hair, so far, there's no connection to this murder. There's no, like, you can't even convince me to go pick up food for you if you're having this custody battle, let alone get a person who's so accomplished. He didn't just go to Juilliard, he had a scholarship. Why did he murder him? I think the jury are going to be so confused and so puzzled and so mysterious. I don't think there's a chance that these jury don't already know it. I mean, Post testified wearing a jumpsuit, right? And I also believe...
But they don't know what he did. They don't know what he did or is accused of doing. They just know he did something wrong and he looks like he looks. You know, I think the only way this may come in front of this jury is if the defendant decides to testify. I mean, they've got video of him. They've got his DNA there. I think it's a strong prosecution case in terms of the evidence, but there's no explanation as to why it's all happening, which is the other half of the story, which I think he may tell. We shall see. Think Tank staying with us when we come back. ASAP Rocky in his Hollywood trial. Things getting heated inside of that courtroom. We'll show you what happens as this case is now in the hands of the jury.
The Trial and Error Why Did O.J. Win trailer starts now.
Today, my office filed murder charges against O.J. Simpson.
We all wanted to believe that our image of him was right.
People saw the facts differently.
He murdered my sister.
He was not a killer.
Without question, he did it.
Somebody manufactured evidence in this case.
No one planted any evidence.
Much of their evidence was contaminated. All crime scenes are contaminated.
They're going to blame all this on you.
I had no idea what my fellow jurors thought about the case.
Gotta be put away.
This was kind of a crazy spectacle.
This case is a circus.
He was an icon.
They are in for the fight of their lives.
Everybody thinks you're guilty. Trial and Error. Why Did O.J. Win? Premieres Sunday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on Court TV.
Here's a quote on an objection you will read. The prosecution accepts their witness committing perjury. It's improper, it's unethical, you said you're not going to tolerate it, and I object.
Lower your voice and don't yell at me. I told you before, I'll listen to what you say, speak in a normal tone of voice.
They accept the fact that he committed perjury. I'm not saying they support it, but they accept that witness committed perjury. They have to. Let me finish.
Let's get a little personal in the courtroom. Two heavy hitters, John Lewin, the prosecutor, and Joe Tacopina, the defense attorney. And it's been like that throughout, and the judge gets a little aggravated at times at both sides going after them. This is all in the ASAP Rocky case. ASAP Rocky, the hip-hop superstar accused of pulling a gun and firing it at his former friend ASAP Relly. According to ASAP Relly, it grazed his knuckles and caused an injury there. But the defense in this case is that didn't happen. Yeah, he had a gun in his hand, but it was a prop gun. Let's take a listen to both sides talking about the gun.
The prosecution also told you that Rocky produced a similar amount of pistols and pointed at Relly. And said, "I'm going to kill you." Let's break that down. See what the evidence really shows. First of all, the object was not a similar amount of pistol. It was a prop gun. That's pretty clear from the evidence. Not only witness testimony, the fact that there's no evidence of shooting at all. But beyond that, Rocky certainly did not point at Relly. The video shows that, and 12 told you that. In fact, based on Relly's own testimony, the object was put away when two people walked by on the street. And as a result of that, whatever Relly claims Rocky did with it, while they were off camera to the right, meaning inside that parking garage, you know that's a problem for them because they were off camera in the parking garage for only seconds. Only seconds. Not long enough for Relly to have happened to him what he described happening.
This case comes down to one issue and one issue only. They are saying it's a prop gun. If it's a prop gun, he is absolutely not guilty of the charges. Not because he didn't pull it, not because he didn't fire it, but because under the law, if it's not a real firearm, it's not a violation of Penal Code Section 245, and it's not the personal use of a firearm. Now, here's what's interesting. Now, again, I'm going to explain this in more detail. Mr. Trafficking got up here. He says, absolutely. Hey, listen. He did not have a real gun. It's a prop gun. But it's still self-defense. That's not true. If it is a prop gun, there is no self-defense. And the only way you can get to self-defense in this case is you have to find, one, that it was a real gun, which it clearly was a real gun. There's no question there. It was a real gun. The prop gun is a figment of the defense and the witnesses who testified to it.
All right. Is it a real gun? Is it a prop gun? Well, the bottom line is the prosecution doesn't have the gun, and the defense says they don't have the gun. The guy who pulled the trigger says he doesn't have the gun anymore. Well, he didn't say anything because he didn't testify. But one of his, I don't know if it's a bodyguard or one of the other ASAP members who testified on his behalf said, yeah, he gave it back to me after the shooting because it didn't work. It didn't protect him. So then I took it and I brought it back to New York and gave it to the guys from the music video. All right, so why not go track down the guys from the music video and bring them into court if it's a prop gun? They didn't do that. Let's bring back in our think tank, still with us, Marie Pereira, Paulette Lofton, and Michael Jafer. All right, Paulette, you know, I know the defense has no burden, but my goodness, if you're telling this jury it's a prop gun and you're ASAP Rocky with millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? I think you could track down the gun and bring it into the courtroom.
I definitely think it would make his argument a bit stronger. I really thought it was interesting in the prosecutor's closing. He said that the defense attorney was like flying an airplane with no flight plan during his questioning of the alleged victim in this case, and that he just kind of went all over with no direction and tried to just bring up as much fluff as he could and stay away from the actual elements and the actual issue of this case. And I really think that's what happened. So I agree with you. I think that if it was a prop gun, he could have found some way to make proof that it was a prop gun, or at least provided something else other than this story that it was taken back to New York. That just seems kind of far-fetched for me. I do think bringing Rihanna and then the children there the last couple of days, I think it helps. I think they're trying to make it seem like he's not this tough guy image like he's been portrayed, or that he's portrayed himself for the last number of years, that he's a family man and he has kids and here they are. So I think that kind of helps the argument of a prop gun, but I think the jury's really going to struggle on this one.
Yeah, Michael, I'm troubled by this because you know, he has lots of money. He has enough money to get a lawyer from New York, right? So he certainly has enough money to hire an investigator to go to New York and get the people who produced this music video for him. And if they lost the gun, at least they could testify. But, oh, yeah, ASAP, whoever, brought that gun back to us. Yeah, we gave it to ASAP Rocky. We let him take it after the video shoot. He wanted to keep it, so we just gave it to him. That's all it would take. But that didn't happen.
You know why that didn't happen, Vinny? It's because it wasn't a prop gun. It was a real gun. And so I think this case has been proven. They found the shell casings. It doesn't make any sense that it was a prop gun. This was a real gun. I think the case was proven. And I think that they were way too aggressive in front of their jury. I don't think that Tacopino played well to the jury. I don't think his aggressive demeanor. I know what happened. So people like ASAP Rocky in their lives, like they have this bravado that they have. That's some of it is real, some of it is contrived. And he told this team, I've got a bunch of money. I want a pit bull attorney to go in there and damage him and hit him. And he got what he wanted. Tacopino was a pit bull, but I just don't know if that played well to the jury. I think the case has been proven. This was a real gun. It doesn't make any sense. This ASAP Relly, the complaining victim, destroyed his entire future prospects of being in that world by even making the complaint. It doesn't make any sense that it was a prop gun, and that's why they couldn't find a prop gun, because it wasn't a prop gun.
Marie, what are your thoughts? You're out there in L.A.
I'm out there in LA, and I've been to the trial, and I've seen defense attorney Joe Tacopina, and I disagree with everybody. I think he did a good job, and I think if he had shenanigans, you can't do shenanigans by yourself, because the prosecutor was just as ghetto as he was. So they reacted to each other, and I think the judge didn't control the courtroom. But as for the closing, I think Joe Tacopina brought it home. His whole theory was based on CIA. Communication, everything that came out of the star witness's mouth was a lie. Intent, extortion, and he had proof that the boy was trying to extort them. And the boy should have been prosecuted, honestly, because they had enough there. Before he had an attorney, he was sending threatening messages and saying, I got it, I got the money, I'm gonna get all this money. That's before an attorney came in. And then his actions, the A part, he fabricated. He didn't come up with that bullet just like that. There was proof that a month before, in October, he went to a shooting range where he could have gotten access in California. He tried to lie about it, but they brought it out that he was in California a month before the situation and he had access. So it looked like selective prosecution. He should have been the one prosecuted, and he lied about everything. And he is the foundation of the people's case. I think there's reasonable doubt there, and I think Joe Tacopina did a good job at closing, period.
Go ahead, Michael.
Here's my response. I think Tacopino's trial strategy was good. I think his demeanor was awful. I think he could have gotten a lot further with that jury with a little bit of honey, not vinegar. Even though the prosecutor was ghetto, I agree. I think that the response should have been a little bit more demure, a little bit better. Juries hate attorneys who are pit bulls. We're the most reviled profession in the country. People come into that courtroom hoping that they don't see like an Al Pacino devil's advocate type demeanor. They don't want to see pit bull attorneys with cases like this because it plays into the stereotype they have of our profession. I think his trial strategy was flawless. I just think his demeanor was pretty bad.
They don't like us?
Everybody was throwing punches. Even the judge was saying, don't yell at me. The last thing he said was, knock it off. What kind of directive is that in a courtroom? Knock it off. This is a judge telling them? He wasn't the only one acting out of character. He was goaded by the prosecutor. They made him come out of character, but they were out of character too. I saw it with my own eyes.
Let me ask you, Marie, though, like, why didn't they just bring in the prop gun?
It wasn't their burden to bring in the prop gun. They don't have a burden,
but they're telling. But you're telling the jury, like the jury saw the video and heard a gunshot. The jury heard the testimony of the accuser, the alleged victim. The jury saw the picture of his knuckle. Right, so the jury saw all of that. You have no burden, but you're saying your guy is innocent, and you're actually saying it was a prop gun. You had one of ASAP's sidekicks say it was a prop gun, but you don't have the prop person saying that I gave him the gun. You don't have the prop person saying, yeah, he gave us the gun back. You don't have any of that. I mean, ASAP Rocky has enough money to fly anyone out to LA for this. He has enough money for the best investigator in the world to track that person down. And if that person could save A$AP Rocky from going to prison, wouldn't the person who produced or was in charge of that video music production do that? Because then A$AP's going to hire him from this point forward forever, right?
I get it, but A$AP's attorneys don't have to disprove what the district attorney is charging him for. It's the district attorney's burden.
Oh,
beyond
yeah, we know it's the burden, but you still want to win.
He doesn't have to do nothing, just like he didn't have to take the stand. He didn't have to testify.
But if the truth is it was a prop gun,
so prove it.
Show me the prop gun. That's all I want to see if I'm in that jury.
Good strategy is different than what you have to do. There's what you have to do, and you're correct. But good strategy would have dictated that they do that. It's not that if they didn't do it that he should be convicted, but I think it's just
what you have to do.
The jury.
And what I have to do is say goodnight and happy Valentine's Day. Marie Pereira, Paulette Lofton, Michael Jafer, thank you so much. When we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Their love go wrong. We take a look at 4 couples whose relationships came to fatal conclusions. Lori and Charles Vallow, Chris and Shannon Watts, Corey and Eric Richins, and Ali and Anna Abulaban. It's a special Valentine's Day investigation.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
The victim had been brutally stabbed.
A single mother found dead.
With rose petals scattered around her.
The suspect, a classically trained concert pianist.
The Rose Petal Murder Trial, Tuesday morning on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. What do we have from Florida with love? It's Valentine's Day. Hope everyone's having a great Valentine's evening here as you watch closing arguments. But this is our favorite sheriff, the Sheriff Grady Judd from down in Polk County, Florida, who has his own special Valentine's message tonight. Let's take a look.
Hello, everyone.
Sheriff Grady, awesome as always. All right. Take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is Kalani Natea Edwards. Kalani is missing from San Antonio, Texas since February 5th, just 16 years old. Here's what you need to do. If you see her, please pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. Call 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Live Oak Police Department in Texas. That number's up on the screen for you. Let's see if we can get Kalani to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We've got another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.